Hi again. We're kind of getting closer to MLB The Show 25. We're probably about 2-ish months away from it. We've only gotten one piece of news that's 100% confirmed. No more sets and seasons in Diamond Dynasty. But now we're in like the final couple months of MLB 24. It's that speculation season where you hear rumors and different things that pop up. And I want to talk about this one article that made its way around about a week ago. Bars. This article right here has kind of made its way around, and I kind of want to talk about it and what it could potentially mean for MLB 25. I have a tough time believing that there'll be something of really a lot of substance in this article, but if everything that they're mentioning is true, then MLB The Show might be kind of crazy this year. This is by Brian Mazik. I do not know how you pronounce that. Hopefully I'm not butchering it. MLB The Show 25, new details about upcoming game that will excite fans. MLB The Show fans, there's promising news about MLB The Show 25. I've been looking into as many potential sources as possible to find details about the upcoming game. Based on everyone I've spoken with, Sony San Diego has not dismissed the criticism it received from its community after MLB The Show 24. One source told me, they, SDS, heard it loud and clear, and MLB The Show 25 will be designed to feel like a fan appreciation version of the series. Does that mean every feature fans have ever clamored for will be included? Of course not. I desperately want carryover saves to return, but I've heard that may never make its way back into the game. However, there are several new things to discuss, though we're still missing some of the meatier details. Vibe I'm getting from this little intro is that there's going to be a good amount of speculation here.
Oh my god! Wow!
And even though this person is claiming to talk to different sources, I don't know what these sources are going to really know at this point. I mean, I'll be open with you all. I've talked to SDS before. I've had conversations with them, and they kind of keep a tight seal. So I'm curious what this guy really has to say. Late March release with early access. I'd expect to see MLB The Show 25 release in the third week of March, probably the 21st, with early access potentially starting on March 18th. This would be consistent with previous years and aligns with the timetable everyone I've talked to expects. And I don't know if there's much speculation here. It's really just the same timetable as last year. I guess the thing worth noting is if they're going to be staying on the same timetable, what does that mean for the product that we actually get? A lot of us who are really involved in the game have kind of clamored for things like separation from previous generation and current generation consoles, hopefully meaning more like graphic fidelity, maybe some more gameplay elements that can't be executed for PS4 and Xbox One. Like, can we actually get something substantially different, 1 year on the dot basically difference? If it was going to be releasing like beginning of April and there's going to be some more time between the release, then maybe that would lead us to believe that there could be some big differences, but at this point I don't know what to believe with that anyway. Finally blowing out Road to the Show. Here's where it starts to get good. RTTS fans, this looks like the year when you'll finally get some significant upgrades to the show's single-player career mode. From what I've heard, the pre-majors experience will be greatly enhanced, and there will be major payoffs throughout the revamped experience. I guess the part that sticks with me, the pre-majors experience being greatly enhanced. I mean, that could be good. I think the one problem I had with Road to the Show, I mean, I had many problems with it, is that it kind of felt bland. You know, the things that were supposed to be role-playing elements, it didn't really change anything, and there wasn't enough there to really build your own character out of it. And also, I felt like things were kind of just like not working. Like, I remember not being able to hear from my agent for like the longest time about wanting to get traded, or when I did request a trade, she would, for every single trade deadline after that, keep on trying to get me traded and say, oh, we couldn't get you traded. What even is the point of this then? I mean, what I want to see is more story and different elements to have a unique experience with Road to the Show every time you play it. I find that with Road to the Show, it's maybe only fun to play once, and you go through the experience once of getting drafted in the combine and the minor leagues. It gets repetitive, or it gets to the point where it feels like things stop happening. I personally like that there is like a story element to NBA 2K's career mode, and I don't think MLB The Show needs to be as firm with that. Maybe in this game, your player is predetermined to be like an underdog type player. You have to spend your minor league experience proving all these people wrong and kind of coming out of nowhere, you know? It's just a very generic experience. Like, the cutscenes and the little TV show clips and stuff that they add to it feel like they're there just to make it feel like your player actually exists. So they're trying to convince you like, hey, your player is like a normal player going through the minors like everyone else. Like, that's what they're trying to convince you of. There's opportunity to use those things to really create a story, you know, talk about your player's journey and, you know, the experience of like not just going through the minors, but like the years of baseball beforehand and the different things that could pop up in a player's career that hinder them from getting to the bigs, you know? I know I could talk about it all day. This sounds like they're just adding stuff to the pre-majors experience. Like, I don't know, maybe high school or college to the draft experience. There are some sort of narrative things that would happen in the minor leagues. The fact that it's at least being mentioned as like something as a big focus, I think sounds promising. Deeper off-season features and franchise mode. MLB The Show's franchise mode isn't as bare bones as some critics have made it out to be over the years. While it is easily behind NBA 2K's approach, it's been consistently better than Madden's franchise, though EA delivered their own massive upgrade for Madden 25. I'm told The Show 25's franchise mode will see significant improvement to off-season features, particularly regarding contracts, trades, free agency, and more. We'll see what this winds up meaning. I don't know if bare bones is the right description for franchise. I think a lot of people don't like franchise because too many of the things within franchise just don't function. Bare bones makes it imply that the mode is empty and it just feels bland and basic. You know, there's nothing to it, right? But like, there's some depth to it, you know? What drives me nuts about franchise is that it has things, but a lot of things don't feel like they work, or it's just missing potential for those things. For example, like for me, I couldn't get into scouting. Didn't feel like something that was engaging enough to me. You choose a scout that hopefully fits the type of player you're looking for, and you just assign them to players and just hope something clicks. I'd love to see something more interactive with that experience, where you could see more details on the type of player you're scouting earlier on, and even find ways for like you to make decisions with that scouting experience more. And then on the other half of it, a lot of like the simulation stuff just doesn't work. Like, you'll simulate after setting your own lineup and rotation and stuff, and the game will always find ways to set things on their own anyway and breaking. I wanted to find like a good balance of me being able to like control and take part of stuff, while also me having faith in the CPU to simulate in the times that I'm not playing. You're either entirely simulating or you're playing every single game, and I find it tough doing in between. Wow, I could keep on yapping about franchise. I would love to see like the full-blown draft pool get updated. I don't 100% know if they do that, or at least allow people to create custom draft classes. I think that would be cool. Also, I would love to see like international player pools each off season. Oh yeah, and in terms of trading, like let me trade a player and a certain amount of cash like you actually see for other players, you know? Right now, trades are just very surface level, where it's just player for player. Ideally, the game keeps adding the things that it's missing to get closer to like actually running a real life team. And hopefully it fixes a lot of the simulation aspects that, in my opinion, kind of take away from the immersion of the mode. And none of that is really directly mentioned, I guess. But again, like I've said with the other stuff, I guess we'll have to see how it goes. New legends. Think late 90s, early 2000s. It started with Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire being added to the game. And now more sluggers and pitchers from the late 1990s, early 2000s are apparently making it into the game. Baseball seems to be moving toward forgiving the legends of the steroid era. From what I've heard, Nomar Garciaparra and Roger Clemens have a great chance of being included, though that could change. Alex Rodriguez and Manny Ramirez were mentioned as well. Many are waiting for Barry Bonds to be added, and there was some buzz around it because he will be returning the Topps with autographed cards in 2025. No one I spoke could confirm Bonds' inclusion in MLB The Show 25. My fingers are still crossed on this one. I feel like for it to really be a fully immersive experience and to really make legends worth it, I think they need to add so many legends, and I don't think it will ever happen because they always go by like a player by player type thing. Like for example, 2K does it well because they're able to use different legends and former players for their franchise mode and stuff. I guess the problem with MLB The Show is that there are so many players that you would have to have added to, you know, recreate old teams, even like all-time teams. And I don't think they'll ever have that chance to do that. A bunch of players get added, some other players get taken out, and there's always like a similar size pool in general, even if it gets a little bigger each year. And like, it's cool, but it doesn't really move me. If there was anything that could move me, it would be someone like Alex Rodriguez being added to the game. I think Roger Clemens and Nomar, especially being highly probable, would make sense. And I think both of them could be fun, especially Roger Clemens. At least with his wording of it, it feels like there's no guarantees basically for anyone, and just Nomar and Roger Clemens are pretty high likelihood. I don't know if this will really move me. More Negro League storylines and legends. SES has leaned heavily and gracefully into Negro League representation over the past 2 versions. The Negro League players and ballparks have melded seamlessly into Diamond Dynasty in offline mode. I was assured that Negro League legends and storylines are returning for MLB The Show 25. Okay, so storylines. I think this is something that they've actually done well over the last couple of years, and it's a fun playthrough, especially for that first time. But unfortunately with it all, it just kind of stops at a certain point. So the legends, if there's some cool names that I just don't know of that could be added, so that would be cool. Yeah, all I know is I remember it being a 2-year contract when I first started, so it would have technically been done this year. I would love to see them get creative with it and find ways to not just do stories about just individual players, tell stories about Negro Leagues in general, and maybe just the teams. Tons of new packs and concepts coming to Diamond Dynasty. I wrote about the new pack concepts SCS is considered for Diamond Dynasty and MLB The Show 25. Based on what I've heard, SCS is committed to fixing what ailed the mode in 24 and layering it with mounds of content for 25. If all goes as planned, MLB The Show 25 will serve as an example of how consumers can help shape the product they purchase and play annually. New pack concepts. What did he write about this? I want to see this. Really, he just talked about the one thing SDS put out, saying that there'll be no sets and seasons, and how they have the now and later packs in this game, which are basically packs that you open in this game, which guarantee packs in next year's game. There's nothing new here. When I first saw that he said, I wrote about the new pack concepts SCS is considered for Diamond Dynasty. The way that he wrote this made me think that there was something that he heard about pack structure in the game. Those now and later packs are cool. It's like a loyalty type system for playing last year's game. What does that say about what we'll get next year? I feel like it doesn't say much at all. It feels like they're saying this is a fan appreciation game just based off of the first 2 pieces of news that we really got in the game about no sets and seasons and, free packs at the start of the game. When I think that's kind of an unfair thing to kind of come up with over such a small amount of information. Yeah, they're listening to the fans' response, but they kind of had to. I don't think it's something that is like a direct correlation for what we'll get for next year's game. The game has had this consistent trend coming out with more weekly packs, really prioritizing chase packs, and almost at least with the sets and seasons format, you're not going to get all these cards easily in the packs. You're not going to always have stubs to get them, kind of encouraging you to, dish out the wallet to get those cards that you might be missing. Because I would be shocked if they didn't keep going in the same direction of the packs that they currently have. Yeah, they might have to restructure how they work if you don't have sets and seasons anymore. But in terms of that stuff, I don't think we can judge that yet. Unless this guy knows something with direct confirmation of stuff that we haven't heard at all. I don't know if I really confidently believe that. I want to talk about this part. If all goes as planned, MLB The Show 25 will serve as an example of how consumers... Okay, that was weird. Is an example of how consumers can help shape the product they purchase and play annually. This is just kind of how, games grow and change over time. If any of you play Call of Duty, look at how that game has developed over the last, that's 6 years now. Gross. A lot of it is based off of what they think is player feedback, and then building that next year's game off of that player's feedback. That's kind of what you do with these yearly releases. The games that miss the mark are the ones that, act like, hey, we listened to you and we did this thing that you wanted, and a bunch of other problems come up, or you don't deliver on the things that you promised. You had MW 2019 that had Warzone, which obviously was really loved. Then you had Black Ops Cold War, which was kind of a throwback to the older style of COD. Then you had Modern Warfare 2. They tried to come up with their own direction, not really based on player feedback, with slower, clunkier movement. It was a step backwards to what they wanted to see as a step forward. Then Modern Warfare 3 came around, and they really built that game on an updated Modern Warfare 2, and all these different things that were meant to be hey, we're doing this for the fans, right? But as the year went on, there were other problems that came up. Thus, Black Ops 6, they tried to fix some of those problems. A lot of people liked Black Ops 6 at the start, and now it's in a really rough state because new problems come about. Cheaters and a bunch of bugs in the Warzone side of things over there. I didn't expect this to be a COD video. But point being, if you're coming out with a game every year and trying to get people to buy year in, year out, there's always going to be some sort of marketing as hey, this is a direct improvement over this thing last year. Look at MLB The Show. We had sets and seasons first introduced in 23. It was meant to be an improvement on the content format. That introduced a whole bunch of other problems with the overlap of cards between seasons and a real lack of feeling of progression, which resulted in MLB 24, where They went from sets and seasons to just seasons, but again, there were still problems with this year's content. The repeated 99 overalls, very copy-paste feeling of programs, a lot of filler cards. So now they're like, hey, now we're not going to do sets and seasons. But there could be a ton of other problems that pop up. What I'm worried about, they're going to try to sell up people on nostalgia or changes that might not seem as dramatic as they actually are. This false vision of change brings back other problems that had existed back in the day, or bring up new problems. Because back in MLB 22, when we didn't have sets and seasons, there were still a lot of problems with content. Based off this news, there's some stuff to take note of, like seemingly a prioritization of Road to the Show, but I would not look into this too much. So to summarize all of these points, I don't really think there is much in terms of information. And if you see much that isn't directly put out by SDS or any direct interviews with folks at SDS like you see on IGN, I don't really think we have much news on the game. Maybe this will be a year where you really see some good change for Road to the Show and franchise, and intrinsically a good change for DD with no more sets and seasons. I think what really matters is finding ways to listen to our feedback, but also make sure you're on point with listening to us during the year. Because if you don't, we're right back to square one. What do you all think of the potential MLB The Show news? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you all again here tomorrow.